Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You were talking earlier this morning, PK. No doom and gloom on the future of college sports.
I just hate that outlook on anything. If we don't act now, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Stuff can be figured out. Even when it goes wrong, stuff can be figured out.
This is across the board.
You want 16 or 24? I mean, it's just like we're picking sides
thousands?
Here.
I want 24.
No, we're talking teams in a college football playoff because you got the SEC over here and a commissioner. Even though some isolated coaches seem to be in favor of 24, the commission is standing firm on 16. And the Big Ten seems all in on 24. And they already rewrote the rules that those two leagues are going to decide and everybody else is going to go along with it. The Big 12 and ACC, for whatever it's worth, and I don't think it's much, have signed off on the Big Ten's plan for 24.
I don't want 24 without 16. I'm not
you want to see 16?
Yes, exactly.
See 16, see how it looks.
We've seen 12. I mean, we've seen this a few times. Like, the Mountain West or the WAC wasn't working.
So they went to 16 teams.
Yeah.
Whoa, easy.
Went over the top.
Yeah, that didn't work.
And then it didn't work. And fortunately...
Course correction, they went to Mountain West at 8.
And that worked.
It did. And then it went to 9.
And then that worked.
Right. 9, 10, 12. It worked for a long time until this recent split. I thought the Mountain West had a good thing going. Having grown up with one of those teams and covered another one here.
Before Utah went to the Pac-12 and BYU went independent, that was a good thing. They were going to bring in Boise. That was a good thing in basketball, the two sports that matter the most. And that got
Utah,
they got cut at the knees.
BYU, and TCU all left.
Yeah.
And so, it was a good thing. But then that whole decade and a half with Utah State coming in and getting good, and obviously Boise State was the big dog, and San Diego State and Fresno State had good runs, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Now it's split up with this Pac-12 Mountain West thing again. I know. I just have to accept, all right, everything changes. Here we go.
Right. So I would want to see 16 a little bit. 24
I'm
just seems like a watering down of the regular season.
I'm surprised by how much I like the more expanded playoff and by how much the playoff has justified itself.
The 12 years.
The 12. Because when it went from 2 to 4, which I thought was a great idea and I wanted to happen all along, and Steve Spurrier had a line, I like 4. I'm going to love 16. He always thought it was inevitable.
And you know what Steve Spurrier did Saturday night?
What did he do Saturday night?
He walked out at the Swamp with Morgan Wallen.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
He had 2 concerts
Morgan
there.
Morgan Wallen always loves to play the sports segment.
100,000 people, 2 consecutive nights.
Nice.
And the first Friday, Saturday. Mm-hmm. Friday, he walked out with Tebow. Saturday, he walked out with Spurrier.
Morgan Wallen. I like that.
2 local heroes.
Make sure you get loud cheers right out of the gate. Put everybody in a good mood.
Right.
Love that. At 4, I thought, and we talked about it, and maybe it was even true at the time, because I think NIL has spread the talent out in a way we couldn't really foresee. But if you pick the top 4 teams, you're going to have the best teams. Well, Miami barely got in. I mean, they were the 10th team in the rankings, and with the 2 automatic bids, they were the last team in. Mm-hmm. It was a big fight with Alabama and Notre Dame, and BYU didn't even get a sniff at I guess at that point they would have been 11-2.
Yeah.
And then Miami goes and wins at Texas A&M and wins again and presses Indiana in the title game. Mm-hmm. All right, I don't have a problem with 12 at that point. If you're having that big a problem figuring this out, nor would I have a big problem with Notre Dame getting in or BYU getting in. There's a little bit of Alabama, but maybe that's me and my bias being cranky about them getting in. So I don't really have a problem going to 16. I really don't have a problem going to 24, and I figure we're going there, so I figure I'd just accept it more quickly.
I would rather see 16 first.
See what the tournament looks like.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't end up
with... And what it does to the smaller schools, does it destroy and eliminate and ruin and bowls? I want to see, because there's... Yormark talked about what do they call that? The unintended consequences. Right. He talked about that at the Cowboy Stadium before the game. I was sitting right there. And we don't know what they are because they're unintended. We can anticipate some of them, but we don't know the full
ramifications.
Exactly.
There will be surprises.
Right. So let's go. It's not exactly baby steps. I think it's a big step to go from 2 to 4 to 12 to 16. Mm-hmm. But I'm more comfortable wanting to see what's around it, how does it work, and then see. Because the last thing we want is... And whoever thought we would say this, Kyle Whittingham sitting his quarterback at Michigan because they have a big game the week of the following week. So his quarterback, who's a little banged up, doesn't play against Ohio State. Wow, what a world.
And PK sold that, and if you're watching on the KSL Sports app or on YouTube, you might know why. Dr. Chris Hill just walked in the room, the former Utah athletic director.
Let's argue about something like that, will you?
Kyle Whittingham sitting his quarterback at Michigan against Ohio State because they got a playoff game the week after.
If that happened, he probably was in the hospital for something he broke or something. He's not going to avoid the sideline in that game.
Okay, his running back.
Okay, maybe that, but
somebody important.
Yeah, somebody.
Or flip side, Ryan Day doesn't.
Yeah, and who cares?
And one
who
of
wins?
the most storied wins, right? Who cares who wins?
Who cares who wins
because
the game?
It's the next week,
right?
And therefore, from at that point, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
That's
for
nervous.
Sure. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, we're all longtime college football fans here.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, the three of us are.
Yeah, there you go.
Yak is over there, And we don't want to see it hurt. We want to see it get better, not get worse.
Yeah, I like what you said. Be a little careful, though, because what's going to happen in the regular season or hurt, because it's like basketball now where the regular season doesn't mean much.
It bothered me a little bit to sit in the press box knowing that there were 3 or 4 guys at Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. I grew up at the Rose Bowl. Yeah. That wasn't the cornfield in Iowa.
Yeah.
That wasn't – the Rose Bowl was heaven to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of things that have changed over the past several years. You kind of just roll your eyes, but you say, okay, well, that's where it's going. I better jump on board.
Yeah.
Or,
or get out.
The good old days aren't, they may be good, but they're not happening now.
Right, exactly.
So we're having this discussion, and these are all good points, and these have been discussed, but I feel like we're not discussing the elephant in the room. Like, if we're going to talk to people, let's not waste our listeners' time. The SEC thinks what they think. And they have a TV deal with ESPN. And I'm a little loath to say that these TV companies are putting their thumb all the way on the scale and pressing it down. They, by just virtue of their voice, if the Big 12 calls and says, what team can we add that you'll pay us the most money for? They say West Virginia. I don't feel like they're demanding West Virginia, but they have the power because they're going to give the Big 12 money. Right? It's a little more subtle. It's a little more nuanced. Mm-hmm. Right now, I feel like the fist is on the scale. They're jumping up and down on the scale. ESPN wants all the games. We have Tim Brando on, who works for Fox. And if it goes to 24 teams, they'll need another network partner in to bid for the games and the way the contract is drawn up. And Tim Brando loses his mind and takes over the segment like, they've got to let Fox in. They got to go to 24. He's just pounding the table. It's clear this isn't some type of proxy battle. This is a full-on Fox wants in. And the Big Ten is in Fox's corner because they got to deal with him. And ESPN and ABC are in the SEC's corner. And we're really watching Fox and ESPN fight over TV programming in December.
Oh, yeah, in December. They're going to be doing that, maybe not throughout the year. It's interesting because, I think I told you my son was in acquisitions at ESPN for 12 years, and now he went to YouTube, and I'm just wondering what all these other places are going to do. Who owns who? Who's going to continue to own whom?
YouTube's owned by Google, right?
Yes, they are. Yeah. He was with Disney, and they went to Google, and I said, okay, Disney, Google, well, I think you have a safe harbor there. They actually park your car for you. That's pretty nice. But, he said he'd put
Seriously?
me in
He has a valet at work?
Oh, yeah, they do at Google.
Oh, wow.
Then I said, well, at least you're going to put me in a better nursing home now. You can afford it. So he was good, I mean, he said it's not going to be the Ritz, but it'll be, an upscale, Marriott or something. But anyway, it's, I don't know. I'm a little not afraid, because it's not my job anymore. But going to 24 is a lot right away, like you were saying. Maybe you bounce into it. And then you're going to hit me with the bowl games, and I'm kind of done with them. I mean, there's just too many for me. And it's not the experience now it's going to be. And you don't have the Rose Bowl. I'm getting back to things happening. But 24 will make it happen, too. And they'll make the money. And live TV is it. That's the deal in terms of sports, because you can't tape it. You can't do any of that stuff. You can do it everything else on TV.
Right, yeah. And DJ's heard me tell this story before about the bowl games. The big dogs, they're going to be okay, right, either way. But several years back, I was covering the Arizona Bowl as Utah State against New Mexico State.
Right.
And so I'm in Tucson, and New Mexico State obviously isn't that far away from Tucson, and the amount of purple that was in that town the day of the game, because they don't go to bowl games all the time. It's a huge deal.
Right.
And then they win in overtime, and the kid kicks a field goal or misses a field goal or something, I don't remember. But I just saw the smiles on the faces of those young men and their families, and they don't get that. And we're supposed to be in for the business of the kids.
Yeah.
Young men, young women. I don't want to deny the Mexico States of the world the opportunity that meant the world to them.
Oh, yeah. I understand that one. It's the ones that are 25 through 45. They're the ones that I think are kind of going, oh, man, we're not in a big time. We're used to going to bowls. I mean, believe me, if New Mexico State went 4 years in a row, they wouldn't have the same interest at all.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's good for them, but that middle group's going to be tough where they are if you're not in the top.
I get why Notre Dame didn't want to go bowling. They just said no. When they got left out, they just said no. I think bowls for Power Fours have jumped the shark. And so for the group of 5 teams, they have so little access to the playoff.
Yeah.
It still matters to G5 or G6 now. It still matters to them. However, I did see for the first time, and he was unnamed because this is a little coloring outside the lines, but I did see a G5 say that the bowl games are a break-even experience largely. Sometimes they're a money-losing experience if you go cross-country. Well, I don't know who it is. If you get to stay home, if you're Hawaii playing the Hawaii Bowl, San Diego State playing the Poinsettia Bowl, or it's a short drive. But once you got to fly to Louisiana or wherever, now you're losing money.
How many bowl games do you think we made money on?
So
0.
3. Vegas Bowls?
The BYU Vegas Bowl.
Right. Yes. Drivable.
The and because of the opponent.
Right.
Fiesta Bowl because it was
the Fiesta Bowl. Yeah.
And the Sugar Bowl because it was Alabama.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Everything else we lost money.
Right.
But I remember being up there
that's fine.
at the Huntsman Center on a basketball night in a non-conference in December, and we used to have that little media thing when the front door there, and your office was down the hall to the left, and you got the call that you're in the bowl, and you came out, and I think you were going to go talk to Liz Abel down the hall, or whoever was down the hall, and I swear your feet were 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah, that was the Copper Bowl probably.
Is that what it was?
Well, it
would have been your first year.
But you were so fired up about it.
I mean, for Utah, it was kind of, for me and for our program, that was like, okay, that's the first mini step for us building this program, trying to get there. We were 6-6. On Thanksgiving night, one of my mentors called me, Fred Miller, and I'm debating, how do we get in? He says, you got to buy your way in. I said, what do you mean? Buy an extra $250,000 tickets and tell your president it's what you had to do. So we do that. Next day, we try to raise some money. But that was the deal. We had to get in to start. and have our name on that Christmas week and across the bottom, and Utah's playing. And I think we got clobbered by that great running back from Wisconsin, but that's...
Oh, Ron Dane.
Yeah, Ron Dane. That's sick. I can remember that stuff, but that's just the way it was. But, I was fired up.
Right.
I was fired up because it was a big validation, for us.
And I thought it was awesome, and because you were beaming.
Oh yeah, I maybe my vertical leap was 6 inches then, as opposed to 1 now.
But I thought it was super cool that Utah got to go to a bowl.
Oh, it was fabulous. It was absolutely fabulous, and it gave us a starting point. Now years after that, we were happy to go to a bowl, but it wasn't the same feeling because it wasn't maybe the one we wanted. The advantage we had is that we weren't as much a TV darling, and we sometimes played a little bit easier team than we would have if we were a little bit more of a TV person. TV attraction.
Right.
So it was good to win games.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when you hear what I read was that the unnamed G5 official, it's the first time I ever heard someone identified as an athletic director, I don't know what school, say that he was in favor of a G5, G6 playoff now. He thinks it'll generate more money. And he doesn't think, even at 24 teams, he says there's one team in one league each year that's going to get access to that playoff money. We will make more money if we have a G5 playoff. And I've never really heard him be open to it because they don't want to be a sub-classification, but money's driving everything. And maybe now people are starting to warm to that.
Well, they may want to do that. I wouldn't want it to be run by the NCAA because then the money would be spread differently, and it would not match what they need.
They'd have to do their own thing.
The challenge is, do you really need the bowl people then? Or do you just say, hey, we got a big-time bowl. We contact Boise, say, want to get to pay us, the group of 5, to play here. And maybe they get it. And then if you can get it on TV between Christmas and New Year's, as much as we all go, oh, my God, there's the toilet bowl and, Northeast Jabibi State's playing somebody else, people turn it on because they're sitting there. And
especially if the bowl games go away. People are still looking for programming.
Yeah, that time of year, people are going to look for that. And people don't really care if it's a bowl game or not. They're just watching a football game, and it's in Boise or something like that.
I don't think they'd need bowl games at that point. I think they'd want to play on campus and sell the tickets, and then both teams don't travel. Only one has to, and they save money and have a better atmosphere.
I wish they would have done that with the Pac-12. We wanted that first year, and they played at Oregon, or maybe even the second year. But can you imagine University of Utah playing in the Pac-12 playoff at home? That'd be Olympic money in terms of the tickets. I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. We're playing Ohio State at Utah. I mean, it make the place crazy. Of course, going down to the Rose Bowl is different, but maybe playing Ohio State rather in the Fiesta Bowl and playing home here in Houston would be the city'd be ridiculous.
Right.
You didn't like my city?
What's your city?
Tempe, Phoenix.
You're getting the ASU thing.
No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. If you really want, that bowl game was a pain in the butt.
The Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah, it's hard to get around. There was no heartbeat. Like we were in New Orleans, all our fans were there, but we were out wherever we were in Scottsdale, the whole valley's the same city. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing but strip malls and stuff like that.
Cactus,
yeah. So, I don't like your city.
Pools.
I mean, I don't like your city. We can go on about that for a long time,
Chris, you got a book out. We'll talk about this coming up. What is it? Where can people find it? What's the title of the book?
Well, ironically, it's called 31 Years in the Front Row. Mm-hmm. And I actually I have a website, chrishillstories.com. It's up for the publisher part of it for the email and the book. And then Amazon, it takes a little work to have them be on. So the website, somebody did it for me. I thought it'd be easy just to plug on. So I bought my wife one yesterday to make sure it worked, and I bought myself an email. So at least 2 people have been involved. But,
all right.
It was just a fun process as much as anything, just memorializing everything.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk more about that coming up with Chris Hill in a moment. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're on YouTube and the KSL app as well. You can watch us. Dr. Chris Hill is here. You got a book out, and you were talking about really just putting down the experiences, the thoughts, the stories, all the interactions. What was your favorite one to recall in the book you've got out, which is available online right now?
Outside of the 10 Majerus stories, or
How'd you come only with 10?
He has an editor. They cut him down.
I got 19 chapters, only 2 on Rick, and the
Plus,
rest.
there's going to be a
and
second
it's
book.
interspersed throughout.
Of course.
I mean, my favorite thing was just going through it all, and I had stories with my family. Different stories about how we got into Pac-12. I didn't beat anybody up in the book, but Larry Scott and Greg Hughes from the legislature and one vice president university who I hope is listening, and he's scared that he knows it's him. But anyway.
That's your vindictive New Jersey side coming out right there.
But it was fun. It started out as just the library when I retired said, hey, let's do memoirs. And you've been there 31 years, and you're
the library, the university?
Yeah, university, and they wanted me to do an oral history. And so they started talking about, being from New Jersey. I said, what do you mean? I said, you were the AD at 37, and you never lived in Utah. They said it's unique. And then COVID came, and then Liz and I started to write a couple stories, and then we got lost a little steam and just thought, well, we'll just have stories and just for my family, which is what I wanted to do. And then I lost some steam. Then I'm up in Park City. 3 of the guys on the basketball committee we invited up, Greg Byrne in Alabama now, Bubba Cunningham from North Carolina now, and Jamie Dixon. Not Jamie Dixon, he's the coach. Jamie Pollard from and we started telling stories. They said, Chris, our ADs that we know wrote leadership books, which puts people to sleep, and yours may too. But I was telling stories about Jersey and Valvano and Dick Vitale, and we talked about. And they said, Chris, how can an Irish Catholic from New Jersey at 37 with no experience, not knowing where it was on the map when you were 22, be 80 at 37? You got some weird stories. And so that kind of motivated me to do it. I had Brad Rock and I had Liz help me, because I can't type. So I needed a lot of help, and I was a math major, not an English major, so I don't know the punctuation or, I did diagram sentences 100 years ago when they had it in elementary school. But, that's what kind of the genesis was, and it was kind of fun.
Was the challenge to boil it down? Because, you could go 5 books on Majerus.
Yeah, what I was hoping is that it gives a flavor of what it was like to sit in my chair. The title was, 31 years in the front row. So I kind of wanted to give a little flavor of things, and with Majerus, things grew a little better for me with him. We didn't people might think we got in yelling contests all the time. That was maybe 5 times a year, but waking up every day, knowing it could be a national story or it could be nothing. He could show up at the Crimson Club luncheon or come in 5 minutes late and stay for an hour. And you knew during the luncheon that he's going to say something. They're all going to go back to the office. I can't believe Majerus said this. And then you'd call me and say, did he really do that? Are you going to write on that kind of hand? Oh, my God. So that was he was a interesting collection of people, we used to say.
I like the one.
He's an interesting collection of people.
We're down in Tucson, and they win 2 games easily, and he decides that the university didn't believe in him, so they didn't have a plane set up for him immediately when he wanted to go, the second he wanted to go, and then And you call me. That's not true. No one. I said, I know it's not true. He just makes up crap.
I know. I told him his book was something about life on a napkin, and I said, actually, mine's nonfiction. This is fiction, but he is funny. He goes, I don't even like me sometimes. I go, yeah, I got that. But no, just the.
I never heard him say that. That would have killed me.
Oh, no, he would say that to me.
That would have killed me if I'd heard him say that.
Oh, yeah. He says, I don't even like me sometimes. And, the collection of people are wonderful. Dear departed Woody made that one up. Said, he's an interesting collection of people.
Well, Woody, Bruce Woodbury, you're talking about, who was the longtime sports information for decades. He had, and I was just telling my wife this the other day, he had a great definition of Majerus. He called him a one-member dysfunctional family.
Oh, that's great. I'll have to use that one. But no, it was funny. He is interspersed, and you can't deny it, when you think about 31 years. I mean, I was with him 14, and it was pretty significant part of my life, I
only got 10.
We had
that was plenty.
Yeah, we had, and I divided it into 2 eras because I thought there were 2 eras. There was the 90s, and then there was after that.
Sure.
And the pendulum swung, and, just funny, not funny things, but things you would. So his last agent was Falk, David Falk.
Yeah.
And it's towards the end, and we kind of had 1 year left on his contract in this day and age, and we weren't really interested in doing what, but the president of the university said, you got to meet with David Falk, bring your lawyer. And David Falk was Michael Jordan's agent.
Sure. Van Horn's.
Thought I was from nowhere, Utah.
Yeah.
Country bumpkin.
Oh, yeah.
Takes his plane in. He stays at the Monaco. Me and our lawyer and I are up there. He mentioned Michael Jordan maybe 372 times, and his.
So at least he didn't try to big time you.
No, he didn't try to. He thought, and we walked out of the room and said, we ain't doing it anymore, but be nice and call the next day and say we're kind of done. So that's an experience, that would be in your chair, just thinking about, okay, we got this meeting, we kind of know where we are. The leverage is different than it was 10 years ago,
right.
Blah, 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 blah. But it was funny because he came in, his watch was more expensive than my car, and he let me know.
Yeah. When we come back, I want you to go forward to the basketball because obviously you had a ton of success with Majerus, and then you had some serious struggles, and now Alex has the Majerus DNA, but the rules are completely different.
Oh, boy.
So I'm curious what you foresee for Utah basketball specifically, but in college basketball generally. We'll get to that next. Stay with us right here. Chris Hill in studio with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're live on YouTube and KSLSports.com and who knows where else. A million places. Chris Hill is in studio. The former Utah athletic director. You've got a book out. Give people the website again.
It's ChrisHillStories.com.
All right. There's a lot of Majerus stories in there. It's about 31 years. You had the seat in the front row, just experiences, things that happened.
Right.
There's crazy stories with Majerus. We could be here till noon and not even scratch the surface.
Right.
He also won big.
Oh, bigger than we think.
Great coach, man.
Yeah.
He had, I read, when the NCAA was going on now, talking about how many games, Utah State and BYU, how many Sweet 16s. Rick won 17 games. Now, go around and take the whole state, add them up, take New Mexico, and add them up and see if there were 17.
Right.
My God, we just took it for granted.
So it was such a struggle after he left, and there were people who had really different theories coming in, right? Ray Giacoletti wanted to bring in foreign players. Boylan wanted to bring in Midwest players. No one wanted to use Majerus' recipe, which always stunned me because Ronnie Mack had a recipe. It was kind of Lavelle's, and then he put his own spin on it. And Gary Anderson took it to Utah State, and it worked. And Jay Hill took it to Weber State, and it worked. And there's more examples.
Yeah.
There's finally a coach at the U who's got the Majerus DNA, but times have changed, and money is such a big part of it now.
Wow.
I mean, it's at least 90, if not 95% of it. And with some kids, it's 100.
Yeah.
Probably not with the whole program. So what kind of success do you expect Alex to have? Is he going to have the money to be the best coach with the most success that he can have? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think what's so different is the money. I think Alex can identify talent, and he knows how to coach them up. There's no question. I mean, Rick didn't bring him to St. Louis because he didn't know what he's doing, and we used to call him St. Alex because Rick loved him so much. But he can get players, I think, if he has enough money, and he has enough money to keep them. But as we were talking, kids really kind of don't care what school they go to. They don't have loyalty. I love, East Jabibby State again, my favorite school. But if they do well, boom, they're bought.
Yeah.
Damon Lillard would have never been at Weber State more than a week, because somebody would have bought him. So do they have enough money? It may not be that simple, and he's got to get him to win, but I'm convinced he can coach him up if he has enough to essentially buy players. But I think he can coach him up, and he'll be great in the community, and he'll do better getting Utah kids, even if it's maybe a discount. He'll get those kids.
Whereas before, in Majerus's era, there was no choice for Utah kids, which is often the LDS kid, obviously. If they wanted to play on a winning team that could go far, well, there's only one choice.
Yeah.
And so he was able to clean up.
Right.
Even if kids didn't want to go, they had to go.
Yeah.
And now with them spending money down there, it's a big difference.
Well, I don't want to underplay the Utah recruiting because every coach says we recruit Utah first. That's what we do. Let's see, Hano, Finland, Horn, California,
but the ones
Andre,
he got
California,
were extremely
Doliak. Let me
important.
keep going. Doliak, Oregon. You look at it, he had great players. But then he got a Britton Johnson. He got an Alex Jensen. So he kind of did
Drew
them
Hansen.
both. Yeah. He was able to combat both. I mean, the foreign thing is bigger now because there's just better players there, and people have seen the success at Gonzaga and et cetera, et cetera. Larry's here. I think he was on the cusp of doing that. But Alex knows Europe. He knows everywhere. And I text him one day, and he says, I'll give you a holler, but I'm in the middle of all this stuff. Players here, players there.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's really tough now to recruit and keep them. That's the thing. I mean, I go back to Andre Miller. We wouldn't have kept him. Kentucky would have had him. They would have come in and said, hey, Andre, you want to come here? And good old Andre, God bless him, he would have been gone, I think.
His mother would have made him.
Yeah. I think so. His mom, he'd do whatever his mom said.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, to your point, the amount of money they would have thrown at him would have been staggering.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been staggering. You would have been really disappointed, but you couldn't have been mad at him.
No, it's
knowing
like,
how the system works.
It's exactly
now.
like when we were one of the great things that happened that we still don't know now is Andre came in to see us after the Final Four. Mm-hmm. We had Russ Granick on a speakerphone. And
who was an NBA
he was
league
the
office
executive. Lead office guy.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I left out a paragraph. I sometimes do that. But so you got me, Donnie, Manny Hendricks, and Andre listening. And the guy says, Granick said, well, you'd be probably about, 11 to 24, And we get done, and Andre Leas, we're all going, great for Andre. Great for Andre. Then he decides to stay, and he still had his degree already. And I'm thinking, why? We still to this day don't know. We have our theories, why he'd say. But, he was real loyal to us, but that would have changed real early after his freshman year and beyond that because he didn't have the loyalty there because he wasn't, But loyalty's overrated now. It just doesn't happen.
As we see on a regular basis.
Yes, we know that. I mean, we're all loyal to our job. I think.
To a degree.
Yeah, to a degree, but it changes,
right.
I mean.
We saw back when Lavelle retired, Val Hale hitched his wagon to Gary Croton, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then they both lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And it was a messy situation. Utah was a messy
I didn't know that. Yeah, go ahead.
The messy situation, I mean, the family was upset. About what Whittingham's
about
family.
Whittingham.
Okay.
And
you left the paragraph out too. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, the family,
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And so
and they've made no secret of it.
Yeah,
you can
and
hear that
obviously
from
I
other
know
people
them,
in
and
town.
they tell me stuff. Blah
Right.
blah blah.
Well, they
right?
didn't sign. What's it called? A non-disclosure. They didn't.
Right.
NDA.
His family didn't sign an NDA.
Oh no. I mean,
I think from what I've heard,
they did not during the Vegas Bowl.
Yeah.
Actually, the game is being played, and I'm getting it in the press room.
Oh,
On
really?
the phone. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
because some of them are there.
yeah, you knew the family.
Right.
Yeah.
And so be it, right? So where I'm going with this is now the administration has hitched his wagon with Morgan, and hopefully it doesn't end up like Croton, which ended up being a disaster. This coach in waiting stuff, I just don't know that it works all that well, because they wait, and it can be a messy departure, or the guy who gets the job then isn't as good as the predecessor and all that. Just what do you make of all this, and how much it has to succeed for everybody to basically stay employed?
Well, every situation is different, and to stay employed, it's pretty simple. If that's what you're getting, they got to win. That's the bottom line. Morgan's got to win. He knows he's got to win. That's the way the world is now. I mean, you get down to the bottom line, and you got to win. And Morgan he's a defensive coordinator, a pretty good national team. The problem is, if you're asking about coach in waiting, and the last guy, I've drawn that line. I'm not going to say anything that seems critical of the university. I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I left, and I never go back to the building. Not because I'm anything other than I don't want to be in the way. But I don't know what you do if Kyle lost like crazy last year. Then you're going to elevate, him. But Morgan was the guy. I just don't know if it needed to be that public. But
right, and then and obviously the coach has to win. But sometimes the administrator won't lose his job. But here it seems like these guys now, they're joined at the hip. It has to work.
Jim Valvano told me, once the AD hires you, that's the most power you ever had, but you better get the power and do it before you lose a ball game. So I think they're inextricable. When I let Ronnie go and hired Urban, those are two completely different situations. But I was married to Urban, because if Urban didn't win, that meant I made a mistake with Ronnie. Right.
Yeah, there you go.
But he won so much, he got me off the hook.
Right.
So if you're saying that people are connected, I would say yes, always. It may be more this time than it would have been another time, And so every AD needs to have their football coach win when they hire a new guy.
Right, but you had some credibility with the basketball, because you'd hired one that went to the Final Four, and then the next two you hired, it didn't work.
Yeah. So I had some credibility with that, and that helped me, I guess. I don't know what to say. I always felt like, hey, this new guy got to win. I didn't hire him thinking, well, if he loses, I'll still keep my job.
Right. Oh, I understood.
That's not even part of my thinking anyway. I never. I went for an interview one time in Miami, and they said, "What are your goals?" And I was just a kid, and I said, "Have a heck of a Monday, a heck of a Tuesday, a heck of a Wednesday, and all add up. That's all I care about." Because I think if you start looking about, hey, I'm going to get fired, if this happens, that happens, then you can't do your job.
Yeah.
So they're all connected. Some maybe more than others because of the nature, and that may be the case here or not. I'm not around, so.
It does seem for the industry, and so I suspect for Utah also, that whereas in your day, either football or basketball had to be going right, you couldn't afford to have them both down at the same time.
Absolutely.
Very few schools had them both up, so you could always kind of explain one away.
Yeah.
Be good at one and have a good plan and be making progress at the other. Yeah. And if you're at Alabama, it's probably better to be football, and if you're Duke, it better be basketball, right? So it just depends on the school. But now, football is so important. I think to PK's point, they are joined at the hip.
Yeah.
Probably because he's been there a long time.
Sure.
As AD, and they really need to have success. And we all feel like realignment's coming, and you've got to have success in football for that. Plus, he just paid a legend to go away. So now, back to what you said about Mac and Urban, if you make the longtime guy go away, the next guy better have success. But the same question, the landscape is constantly changing underneath everybody's feet. In the pros, you can explain it away if you're on the bubble, right? Hey, we got the 8th best record, but we got the 24th best payroll in a 30-team league, right?
Right.
So the coach is overachieving versus the budget. There are other issues. In colleges, those numbers aren't as public. I don't know if you get to explain it away the same way, although it's a similar problem in the pros. If a baseball team has the 24th biggest payroll, just get to the playoffs. We don't expect you to win the World Series. Sneak into a wild card. Get over 500.
I think that's the card that wins the game is the money is going to give coaches a little bit of a realistic reason why they don't have the same players that other teams
If they have less money, and everyone knows it.
And even Utah, they may have the most money, but nobody's going to believe them because guys down the street are always going to have more money. That's what our fans are going to be thinking,
Right.
no matter what.
BYU and Texas Tech, if those are your losses, you can explain those away because the perception, whether maybe it's reality, maybe it's not, but the perception is they have more cash.
Yeah, you can't explain away losing to BYU.
Right.
Even if they have a lot more money and whatever, because
It's the rivalry.
thanks to Ronnie and all those people, at one point we were 2-20, and then all of a sudden we became very competitive in some ways, maybe even better, and that'll help your ratings.
Well, you did
when I said that.
Well, no. You win 9 in a row, you dominated.
Yeah.
So it speaks for itself.
Back to your question, and boy, if this is read as me sitting in the chair now, it's like they're always connected. My coaches hate this, but I summarize something. But they're always connected. That's the way it is, and you got to win. We always laugh about it, and I learned this the hard way that it really doesn't matter if you keep your budget as long as you win in football. No AD gets fired for winning in football and being over budget. They may use that excuse, but if you lose in football and you're under budget, nobody cares. You lose your job.
Yeah.
So that's a scary thing for an AD now. It's almost, maybe that's what you're saying is, in every campus in the country, how your football coach does after you hired the person, that's all that matters. Everywhere in the country.
Do you see the Utah football program continuing to grow to where when and if there's expansion that they move on into the Big Ten?
They're a model school for it. Just like they were with the Pac-12. And I think they'll be in the top part of the league all the time, and that'll help them be attractive if somebody's going to expand. I would not want to get into the definitely or not, but, they'll drop my alma mater Rutgers and there'll be room. What the heck? No, but, I think Utah does bring a market that they don't have, a time zone too. That's really
time zone, yeah, for sure.
Time zone's really important, and you have to know who you are. So you're playing Michigan against Utah. Michigan's going to be the one that brings the eyeballs, but at least the state of Utah is going to be packed watching it.
Of course.
So, I think Utah continues to be in the top 3 or 4 of the league. I see that realistically, and then they'll be an attractive place because if they want to. The Big Ten wants to destroy the Big 12, which, I can't imagine them wanting to do that, or the ACC. They'll just take the best teams, and I can see us being the best team with a great institution.
You told me a long time ago we were in your office talking, and you're probably 15 to 20 years into your job at this point.
Yeah.
You hadn't gone to the Pac-12 yet.
Okay.
And the Mountain West was getting better. Mm-hmm. Utah and BYU and TCU, you could just see the momentum, right? It was just obvious.
Yes.
And you're like, we just got to keep getting good. They are going to devour their own. I remember you saying that, and you said it so definitively.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the Power 6 becomes the Power 5, becomes the Power 4. The Big East and the Pac-12 are gone. And now we have 2 leagues pulling away. They didn't kill the Big 12, but, man, taking Texas and Oklahoma out of it, the SEC, that was something. And it feels like it's coming for the ACC as soon as the contracts allow it. It's going to happen there. We got a Big 2. And there seems to be this assumption we're going to stop at a Big 2. And I personally don't understand it because I go back to what you said. It's this innate thing built into sports. It's incredibly predictable. You called it decades ago. Why won't one of these 2 big leagues try to damage the other one? Especially because, as we talked earlier, you got 2 networks that wouldn't mind getting the upper hand on the other one who are funding all of this. Why not? Why doesn't the Big Ten raid the SEC for Florida and Georgia or Texas and LSU, Tennessee and, I don't know, somebody else, maybe Bama?
Your question is a good one, and why wouldn't they?
Because they will, and the way to get around the NCAA is we'll have our conference guidelines, we'll have our own conference tournament, we'll control all the money, we'll make our own conference rules. The NCAA can exist, and we can still have our water polo and volleyball and soccer playoffs and baseball and softball and whatever. But now it's all in-house in the Big Ten. And at that point, is the Big Ten 32 teams, and it just becomes the NFL of college football.
Yeah, I think that they eat their young is the other thing. I kind of said it.
Yeah.
And, when we were in the Mountain West, we always felt like, hey, if Utah can be at the top part there and we become a pain in the butt, the Mountain West, they'll just take some people and we could be the guys dressed up and ready to go. So that was the theory then, and it's probably the theory now. I'm wondering if they just start to streamline it and let people go. Yeah. I just wish we'd take football and make it its own operation. And everybody else come home is what I used to say. Yeah. Let the baseball team stay in the West Coast, do that. But football's its own entity. It's its own entity on campus. It's its own entity. It's just not the same sport as anybody else. Make their own rules, have their own thing, have it be separate, And then they may eat their young then. I can see what you said. Why wouldn't Ohio State, A, want to take Tennessee, and B, maybe have somebody leave? And just keep making their place better and better and better. I don't think it's unreasonable, that's for sure. I think it's accurate.
The leave part, though?
Excuse me?
The leave part, you think that's reasonable?
Well, I think
basically you're getting kicked out.
You're talking about football leaving the athletic department?
You're talking about teams, right?
Yeah,
teams. That's what I'm talking about. But, because Ohio State's going to look at another school in the Big Ten and say, wait a minute, they're getting the same money as us?
That makes sense.
So what they're going to do is either eliminate people or easier say, hey, we want a bigger piece of the pie. And that makes a division in that league more and more and more. And in a certain way, it's not bad to have two divisions if you're in the top one, because then you got 3 or 4 teams you can beat, still have 10 wins. But if all of a sudden, who thought maybe Oklahoma's not going to be one of the major schools in the country, or Nebraska? Who would have thought that?
Yeah, Nebraska's fall is incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. Incredible. I never would have thought Utah plays Nebraska and we're expected to win.
Which is what it was in Vegas last year.
It used to be 60-12 is when I started.
Right.
And we'd go home with money. We'd go home with money and lose.
You'd write a check and apologize to Frank Dolce. Frank, you're going to get beat up today.
And I know that's part of the plan was one of the first things we did is got rid of those money games.
Right,
Get rid of the money games. Play an easier team, get some wins, have people healthier because we weren't as deep as BYU, and at the end of the year have better chance because we have better players. We didn't have our third team players.
Right.
I'm sorry, guys, that we're on the third team. I apologize. I hope you're not listening.
They were great when they became first teamers. It was just as freshmen. They couldn't.
Right. Yeah,
that could be it, though.
Yeah, it was partly.
Yeah,
they're not ready.
They develop players well.
Let's take a break and do one more segment. Jake's giving me the evil eye in there. He's looking at the clock. We're just blowing through stop signs. DJ and PK with Chris Hill in studio. Stay with us.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Chris Hill in studio. You got a book. The website?
ChrisHillStories.com. Easy to remember, I hope.
31 years of memories, 31 years in the front row.
Right.
Crazy stories. That was a good one about David Falk earlier. As you said, David Falk's ego on full display. Did you tell the story about the Sugar Bowl in Alabama? You told me a story about you were in the lobby. The Sugar Bowl people take you to dinner. They take Alabama to dinner one night and then Utah the next night.
Yeah, I can.
And it's like the last little shred of collegiality left in big time pro college sports, and they're waiting for you in the lobby, and like, when do your people get here? I'm like, this is everybody, and they're like, what?
They had the night before they had Alabama administrative staff, and we used to tease in our place that we carried our own bags, and I didn't have an assistant to an assistant, and I got to tell you a Glenn Tuckett story. It's not in the book. If I can remember, you tell me. But we're there, and they're going, "Where's your squad?" And we're like, where's your staff? We go, well, this is it. So I think they lost a lot of money on putting that into it. And but Glenn Tuckett told me Alabama, he was there for 2 years as kind of an interim guy. I think So we were playing in the gymnastics championship at Alabama, and he showed me through everything and go by some really big office, and it's neat, nobody's there. And I said, "Who works there?" And he goes, "Oh, so and so." And I go, "What's he do?" He goes, "I don't know. He's just a friend of Coach Stallings. They just hired him." And I said, "This guy's not making $45,000." But I'll never forget walking down that hallway and look. And I can't sing and dance, but I can remember stories. But I go there and I'm going, just a friend of Stallings.
Yeah.
Paying him a big salary with his own nice office. So Alabama's staff, it was hysterical. They kept waiting for people to come.
We're here.
We're here.
But yet that's where we are now with these staffs. That's what's been impressive to see BYU and Utah come of age in a sense because their staffs, football-wise, it used to be Alabama had these, what did they call them? Analysts. And now a guy like Gary Anderson is behind the scenes, but yet doing a lot to help the team win and isn't interested in getting any publicity because been there, done that. And Utah expanding their staff and have those types. And essentially that's what you have to do to stay competitive. That's the form of the arms race that seems to have taken over versus back when it was all about the facilities.
Yeah, I know. You go down and look from the press box down, you see more guys with golf shirts that look alike than you can ever imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of it's useful, some of it's not. But you're sitting in a position, well, if I call it the bag of crap theories. They got a bag of crap, so we got a bag of crap. I'll use that word. So why don't we get 2 bags of crap and then we can beat them? But you're kind of stuck down. When we were in the Mountain West, we could kind of say, we can't have that many guys. And nobody in the community would say, oh, Chris, you got to, Yeah. But once we got there, and I remember we're in the Mountain West, they said, well, Alabama does this. And I said, we're not Alabama. I mean, well, if I expected you to beat Alabama, then we can have that guy. Well, damn it, Kyle went ahead and beat Alabama. And then we needed that guy.
He did. I was there.
I think he's going to go 10-2, maybe better. I don't know about beating Indiana and Oregon. We'll see. I think they can beat Ohio State, and I think they can beat Oklahoma. When I say Kyle's going to go 10-2 his first year at Michigan, what's your first reaction?
I agree. I think that's who they are. I mean, I can't imagine him. We had talent at Utah, but I can't imagine them not having more talent at Michigan. And he can, like I used the expression, Rick, he can coach them up, and they're not going to lose players because they can keep paying them. So I look down the schedule, too, as you just mentioned, and I don't know who's on their schedule, but, there's no reason why they can't. Now, I don't want to put pressure on Kyle, God bless him, but the reality is...
I didn't say 11-1 or 12-0. I'll leave the door open to it, but I'm not predicting
10-2. 10-2 is in your first year at Ohio State. I wouldn't think that's a problem.
Well, that gets you in the playoff.
Boy, that's easy to say now. That's not a problem. What the heck,
he's probably not putting pressure on me. You just said I was going to beat Ohio State. You fool.
You got to go 10-2, coach. Don't
it was a
me.
ballyhooed hire. It was an unbelievable circumstance, turn of events, and to get a coach of that level of accomplishment, it just doesn't happen every day.
No, I don't think so. And I think, Kyle had this, I'm only from Utah, I'm this, I'm that. Mm-hmm. And getting back to the same thing. He's going to get players, whether he's from the Midwest or California, whatever. And then I think they'll win. And it's Michigan. Let's be honest, it's Michigan.
Well, you told me once about him that the thing people don't appreciate because he's got the football tough guy persona is you said he's smart.
Oh.
And he's always looking for just that little bit of an edge, and then find another little bit of an edge. You start adding them up, and that's why they beat Alabama and a handful of other big-time
You're bringing
wins.
back really memories for me because, each coach was different. And part of my deal was, are they going to adapt to me or am I going to adapt to them? Mm-hmm. Not in terms of giving away things, but, so Kyle comes in the office, I got to be prepared. I got to know all the research. I got to know if I say one thing, if I say it's going to happen, 3 months from now, he'll be knocking on the door saying, did it happen? Yeah. And I'd go into a meeting and, man, I better be prepared. Where some people is a little more give and take and, back and forth and whatever. But with Kyle, it was like, boom. And so I think he's a really, really smart guy. And that's where he can figure out stuff. We went to Pac-12. He was one of the few coaches that weren't nervous. He said, bring it on. And I'm sure he's going to feel the same way at Michigan. Just bring it on, and I'll be ready.
Yeah, I can tell you once they clinched the first Rose Bowl, I don't want to use the word demands, but he had a level of expectations now, I guess, that were something that you could say he demanded of the program. We were done with this little program out in the middle of nowhere that overachieved. And he was going to hold people accountable to maintain. His point in conversation was, now we've stepped up and we're not going back.
Well-
We got to go more.
Well, that's exactly when we got invited to Pac-12. I said, guys, I understand it's a jump, but we are not afraid of high expectations. We can't be afraid of that. We got to keep that there. And, Kyle bought in, and every coach, Kyle, maybe you know him better, so it's more intense there, but every coach wants more and more and more, not only in support, but also in winning. And we decided it's not arrogant, but we weren't going to be afraid of high expectations. I mean, it's not all about me, but, X number of years ago, nobody thought we'd be beating BYU, but people thought I was crazy thinking we could do that. It was like when we even got started, we said, okay, we need to win at least 1 in 5 years. Against BYU. That was like a goal.
Which is only 20% out of 10.
And then we said, well, no, forget that one. That's off the table.
Right.
And
I think that for the U of U, I see no reason why not.
No.
Because I think it has so much to offer.
I've always felt that way. From day one, I looked and I said, great university, great city, attractive for coaches. They know they can win there. There's a lot of things that added up. And to keep people, that's the key thing, is to keep a Kyle for more than 5 years. And Rick, too. And
but I want to ask you what we asked Ryan Smith when we had him on the air. The Jazz are here, and we know they're pulling a lot of money out in this, sports business world. Now the Mammoth are here. And, man, talk about catching a wave and riding a wave, right?
Oh,
you see all the gear around town, too. The arena's full.
Yeah.
And now we got Major League Baseball. Is it coming? It sure sounds like it is. I mean, it's not done until it's done.
Right.
But it sounds probable.
Yeah.
And now you're going to put the University of Utah on top of that, and everybody's got to get the money out of the local community. Is there that much money in the local community?
Well, I don't think so. I don't see us, the city growing like crazy, or the state. I mean, everybody, it's growing, but, boy, that's a lot of money. And we don't have a lot of corporate national companies here.
No, the tech money has helped fill that gap.
Yeah.
But to what degree? I mean, it's filled it as the Mammoth have come into town, but maybe the Utes don't have the money they wish they did right now.
Right.
And baseball, that's just one more straw into the exact same drink.
Yeah, and I think that, Utah did a good job, like with their baseball, getting advertising there and using it more strategically. And, you're only as ethical as you can afford to be, was the expression. And maybe all of a sudden you're going to have like hockey uniforms, soccer uniforms with all kinds of names on you,
right?
And name buildings after companies and do all that stuff.
Will it be soccer with one brand, or will it be NASCAR with 30 brands?
Right, yeah. Right. And I but get back to your basic point. I'm concerned that there's not enough money to go around, and the impact, like the Mammoth, man, I went to one of those games and it's happening, and they're going to bring money out of the community in a big way. I mean, they're the major leagues. They're not, like they were out at the Maverick Center.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to answer your question, yes, there's a lot of people at the trough trying to get money, and I don't know if there's enough money.
Are there a lot of Ute alumni around the country that could be tapped into? Because that's where it's different than pro sports. Pro sports gets their network TV money, and they get their network or whatever their whole league, does as far as sponsorships. But then they're basically local. And we are seeing schools, you're a billionaire kind of, Indiana had Mark Cuban go off to Texas, and now he's writing checks back in Indiana. So it's not like you're limited to 40 miles from campus.
No, you're not. But I mentioned our university many times, but if you're living in L.A. and you want to help the Utes, but at the same time, the development office is talking about you donate money to cure cancer at the Huntsman Center, getting a quarterback versus working on cancer. So people that don't go to the games, like people throughout the state or throughout the country, they love the Utes or whatever, but they're not going to give their biggest dollar to the athletic department. And I couldn't agree with that. When Huntsman would give us money and 20 times as much to the cancer, I said, thank you for letting us be part of your charitable giving.
Right.
And universities, just like anybody else, donors, there's so many areas, engineering where people graduated, where they're here, where they're there.
Yeah.
So I think the University of Utah, to answer your question, they'll get money from around the state, but around the country, but they'll get more money to the rest of the university, which they should.
Yeah, when you throw cancer in there.
Yeah. Okay, we need a quarterback or cancer, research. I mean,
I think we're at the point now where you would be hard pressed to find somebody who didn't know multiple people who went to the Huntsman Cancer Institute and who probably have been there either as a patient or driving the patient there.
Oh,
we've both done that, and we're not alone. Having been there recently, that place is so busy. Watching the cars come and go, the valet parking, the valets running back and forth as people just keep showing up.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite guys to work with was Larry Kostoyak, and we went up to the Huntsman's Cancer when they had another expansion, and we looked at each other and said, one guy, it's like Eccles, what would we be without the Eccles family at the University of Utah? But we go up there and say, wow, this guy decided to do this.
Yeah.
God, are we proud that he likes us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that about the money. It just was kind of fun to be able to say, hey, these major contributors have a little like with Utah. It's kind of their little, it's like people give money to the Cancer Center, then they give to the symphony.
A little fun money.
Yeah, a little bit of their
They do the real work up on the hill. Yeah,
they have passion in everywhere, but it gives them, John loved basketball. Loved it.
Oh, yeah, big time. Absolutely.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
I was there.
Yeah.
He introduced himself to me one time. I said, I know who you are.
That was a really fun part of the job, is getting to know so many. I told people that my job was really strange, because there's only like 50 good ones in the country that are that way. But, I dealt with the Huntsman's of the World Medical Center, people downtown, staff, on-campus professors. I mean, it was so nice to have all those groups, and sometimes it was a pain too. But getting to know people like that, and the
Not to mention the media,
and the media too. You're right. And
you wouldn't know us if you did it now.
The media was one of the disappointments for me. As you know, I'm so comfortable with you guys now that I can say what I want. Yeah. But I said, here's the deal. I'm from New Jersey. I'm competitive. Arguing is a family sport. Okay, you argue all night long. You get up in the morning and say, that was fun last night. So with the media, even if not that in 31 years you were ever wrong, ever. I say, man, that's wrong. I want to fight that guy about it. I want to do it. I'm competitive and I want to argue. No, the AD has just got thin skin.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand it. I can't believe how. You guys had a card you could play that I couldn't be myself.
So did you figure that out on your own, or did Liz Abel, your longtime sports information director, who had ultimate, assistant athletic director titles and all that, but did she explain it to you and tell you this is how it is?
Yeah, she would stop me from being myself.
Yeah.
She was the best. And so you're right. I mean, she'd sit there and say, I almost wanted to rip some guy's lips off that was in the media one time. Big time. But what happened is,
I bet I can guess who.
Yeah, but for me, it got to the point like, hey, that's how it is. It didn't bother me. Yeah. You guys knew I had to be vanilla when I spoke, and you guys know you had to ask the question, who are you looking at, Chris? Well, I'm not going to tell you that. And my wife used to say, how'd it go on the radio? I'd say, oh, great. You did it again. You sounded like you were doing something, but you never said anything. That's good.
Yeah, but I think one of your strong points is that you could handle conflict. I mean, we had conflict. You and I had conflict.
Oh, yeah.
But yet, I never felt like it was personal against me.
No,
the next time around, you could see me, we could talk, and here we are 30 years later, and we have a relationship, and there were some hard times, but it's just part of the job. And if I felt if I'm not creating conflict, I'm probably not asking the right questions.
Right, absolutely.
And it's part of the gig. But here we are 30 years later, and if people ask me about Chris Hill, I say, I like the guy. I liked him then. I like him now.
Well, that's how I feel about It's a two-way street. I know you got a job to do. I got a job to do.
And you knew that.
You have to. Liz would get together and say, Chris, they're going to ask this question and this question.
Yep.
Don't be upset. And I did that once with Urban. I said, Urban, it's the second game of the year. Notre Dame wants you, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I said, Urban, let me explain something to you. It's kids and dogs. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, you just do this. I love my team. This is how it is. I can't think of anything else but Morgan Scally and this guy and that guy.
Right.
And we'd have those kind of discussions. Not that we'd always get away with it, but it's just I knew what you had to do. You knew what I had. And that's just the way it is. It's like I said, I got up in the morning and we'd argue all night long, get up the next day, say, oh, that was fun. And so you don't think about that. I never felt that way. Hardly ever.
All right, one final segment. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
DJ PK, Chris Hill in studio. We were only going to do an hour. We've done an hour and a half because there's just too many stories. For people who want the book, give them the website one more time. Some people just joined us.
Yeah, got a book coming out that's been several years in the making. It'll be up on Amazon a little bit and other places, but it's chrishillstories.com, 31 years in the front row. I didn't beat anybody up. It's not some juicy stories like that. It's just, I think it's fun or inside kind of, not gossip, but how did that happen, or what happened here, or what was funny? And I threw a chapter in about me growing up because Jersey changed my life, and then I told the story about me being in Utah at 23. Paint at bar tile was my first job because I left Duke without a job, and I had 7 jobs in 13 years and 1 in 31. So I thought I had to explain that part of my Utah life before I became the AD. But again, if anybody sees this as an ego thing, I'm really going to be disappointed. My old man would come out of his grave and beat me. Okay, so it's about stories like that. Pac-12, Majerus 2 chapters, Urban, Kyle. Along the way, and one thing, I'll be real quick, we had this thing called Along the Way, which is just little vignettes of short stories with student athletes and with presidents that I had and, things I screwed up here and there and cost the university money when Urban thought I was leaving and we had a buyout. And he said, you got to reduce my buyout. I said, okay. Then I stayed and he left. And the buyout was nothing. The guy from Florida, he called me up and said, Chris, that's the cheapest thing we got. Could you want me? I'll write a personal check if that's how it is. Anyway, so that's part of it. And I appreciate you letting me talk about it. It's out now, but I really consider it out, in a couple weeks when Amazon, everybody gets it. And then we're going to do a little book thing at the King's English and stuff. But I don't want this to be a sales pitch because I'm no way I'm going to make money. No way, and I'm not interested in that. I mean it.
But hardcore Ute fans who wonder about conference realignment stories and interesting personalities, coaches they heard about forever.
Yeah.
And
I hope the people that are interested, it's fun. Yeah, and nobody gets a gold star for buying one. I'm not giving strokes on a golf course if one of my buddies buys a book. They can the heck with it.
Chris, we appreciate you coming in. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're all done. Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, are coming up next. Stay with us.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.